Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I really hope you're doing okay and having a great day and an amazing week. My name is Effie and today it is time for my declutters. I do an annual declutter where I get rid of anything out of my collection that is kind of out of date, a bit old, I'm not using. I want to make it clear that I'm still trying to grow my makeup collection. I'm not trying to cut it down to the bare necessities, so I will not be getting rid of loads in these declutters, but hopefully I'll be getting rid of enough to keep people happy. This is part 2 of my declutters and we are looking at bronzers, blushes and highlights today. Like I said, I do a declutter every year, so there's not loads in my collection and there's not loads to get rid of, but I will be doing some swatches throughout and letting you know how I feel about each product as we go. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please do just keep on watching. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you like my content, please consider subscribing. I put up 2 videos a week and it's all makeup content, so if that sounds like your type of thing, then this is the place for you. But other than that, I will let you enjoy the video. Again, I will be keeping out one blush that is in my project pan and then one extra blush in case I fancy mixing things up. The rest will be packed away because I am moving house soon. So the one that's going into my project pan is this one here. It is the Rude Cosmetics Blush Crush. It's called Level Up. This palette is a little bit too pigmented for me. I have to go in with a super light hand. I think this might be my favourite shade because it's very like neutrally, you can barely even see it on my skin, but I put this in because it turns out I like to mix up my blush a fair amount, and this gives me a fair amount of options for doing that. That might be another favourite as well. I quite like that one. I'm just going to tip all of these out. Ooh, that's a lot of blush. Right, one that I'm going to keep out alongside it. I think I'm going to go for this one. This is the e.l.f. Bite Size Face Duo in Cantaloupe. And this blush, I love. It's one of those like yellowy tones and I just absolutely love it. And this is probably what I reach for the most at the moment, so I'm going to keep this one out. There is also a highlighter in here. I don't think I've ever used it. It looks quite nice actually. Maybe I should use it, but that one can stay out too. Now let's look at the rest and see what we're going to keep and not keep. I think we'll start with liquid blushes, so if I just grab all of them out. So first of all, we've got the NYX Sweet Cheeks Soft Cheek Tint Blush Mousse in the shade, I think it's called Almost Famous. Yeah, I actually quite liked this when I used it. I haven't used it in a while. It's kind of an orangey blush and I think it works quite nicely. It's not too intense, but it does also have a decent amount of pigment, which is quite good. I'm going to keep hold of this one because I actually really quite like it. I need to remember to use it a bit more though. The Beauty Crop Juice Pot in the shade Lychee. This is more of a pinky shade, which I think is good to have in my collection. I don't often go for a super pinky blush, but when I do, I like to have a few options. I actually really like this formula as well. I want to pick it up in a few more shades. I think they have maybe about 6 shades, I'm not sure. I definitely want to pick up another one. I think the shade Melon might be a good one for me, so I'm going to keep this as well. This one here is the Nip and Fab Liquid Blush in the shade Sunset Glow. I've had this for a very long time. I think it might be time to get rid of it. It's very, very glowy. Like, it's almost like highlighter drops. If you had a darker skin tone, you could probably mix that into your foundation and use it as a highlighter. It is a nice blush and I did like it, but I've just not used it in a while and it's really old, so that's probably going to go in the bin, unfortunately. The XX Revolution, I think these are called the Cloud blushes in the shade Cirrus. I love this. It looks a bit messy, but I love it. It's like a cream blush and I just adore the shade. Absolutely love it, and it goes on really nicely on the skin as well. Definitely keeping this. My friend's also in the market for some cream blushes and I said she should swatch this when she comes over, and if she likes it she can pick one up. I think these are about £8, but I just really, really love it. Colourpop Super Shock Cheek in the shade Growth Flirt. I'm not too sure about this one. It looks like a shade I'd quite like because it looks kind of just a bit darker than this one here. But I'm not sure about it. I feel like I should give it a bit more of a try. But then at the same time, I'm probably going to do another Colourpop order either at the end of this year or the start of next year and do another testing video. So I'm not sure. I'll keep hold of this until I do that other Colourpop video, and maybe then I'll get rid of it if I prefer the other one I get. But yeah, not too sure about this one. I think I need to use it a bit more. This is the Mako Beauty Cheek and Lip Tint in Flamingo Pink, and from what I remember, ooh, that doesn't look great. From what I remember, this is really red toned. Yeah, look how red that is. And it's an absolute mess. Just wiped it on my makeup towel and it just keeps coming out. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this. It's not a great shade for me. It's too red. I might have to go in the bin actually. It looks like it's separating a little bit. Yeah, not the best. I got this in a glossy box and I've only used it once and I didn't particularly like it. So yeah, unfortunately this is gonna go. And now on to powder blushes. We have this one from e.l.f. This is the powder blush palette in Light. This came free with my order when I ordered for my e.l.f. video. I really like this palette. I probably use this shade the most, but the others are also really nice. Not the best swatches. This one here has a little bit of shimmer in it, a little bit more than the rest. I've not swatched them in order, so this one is this one, this one is this one, this one is this one, and this one is this one. I think the pink one gets the least amount of use, but it's a nice enough palette. I do really enjoy it. Definitely keeping it. I also have this one from e.l.f. which is another face bite-sized duo thing. This is in the shade White Peach. The highlighter unfortunately smashed in transit, but that's fine because I went and bought the Cantaloupe one. This is also a really nice blush. e.l.f. just do a really good blush formula. I highly recommend their blush products. I really quite like this. This is definitely staying too. Wet n Wild Colour Icon blush in the shade Pearlescent Pink. Again, like I said in my other declutter video, how do I open this? Ah, there we go. Like I said in my other declutter video, I haven't really used much of my Wet n Wild products because the testing video only recently went up and I just haven't had an opportunity to use it recently. So I definitely want to use this more. I think the colour's quite nice. It's a pink with a little bit of a sheen in it. Hopefully you can kind of see that it's got a bit of a sheen to it. Yeah, definitely. But it's not too powerful. It's not too intense. I think it's a really good level of shine and it's kind of a golden-y shine. Yeah, gonna keep that and give it a bit more of a go soon. The Rimmel Maxi Blush in the shade Third Base. I actually quite like this. I used it in a few videos now. Again, it's got a little bit of a sheen to it, but it's a bit paler than the Wet n Wild one, I think. It's a bit more peachy than the Wet n Wild one. Yeah, that's them next to each other. The Wet n Wild one's just slightly more pink, but they've got a similar glow to them. I quite like this one. I'm definitely going to keep it, and I want to pick up, they've got like another one. I think I want to pick that one up, but I can't remember what it's called. Doll Beauty Pretty Fly Blush in the shade Dollar Day. Oh, their packaging is so hard to open. It looks like this. Super cute. I've used this only once. Oh, it's quite intense. Okay, that's very intense. Obviously, it wouldn't go on my face that intense because I wouldn't be using my finger. That's quite nice. It's got a bit of a sheen to it. For somebody who really likes matte blush, I have quite a lot of shimmery blushes. But I think that's quite nice. I think I need to use it a bit more. This is the MUA Blushed Matte Powder in the shade Rose Tea. This was in my project pan at the start of the year. I'm not sure, but I think I might have a little bit of hard pan on it. Let me just rub at it a little bit. Oh, that doesn't look good. But I think I've got a bit of hard pan, so I think I'm going to have to do something about that. But again, it doesn't come out this pigmented on my face. It actually comes out not pigmented at all on my face. I just think I need to try and do something with the pan. But that is essentially the same shade as the Doll Beauty one without any shimmer in it. So it would be good to have these two together because I really like this one and I really enjoyed using it in my project pan, so I'm definitely not getting rid of it. This is the Beauty Crop Blush Duo in Mauvelous. and it looks like this. Now this really frustrates me because in the testing video I actually quite like this. I quite like the colour. There's like a cream blush and a powder blush. So that is the cream blush, that is the powder blush, and I quite liked it, and it's a very different shade for me. I don't have anything that's like mauvey, but the pans are so small and so difficult to use, so I don't know if I would actually reach for it. I think because this is my only mauve toned blush, I'll keep hold of it for now. I was actually thinking I was going to declutter this, but I think I'll keep hold of it for now, and if it doesn't get much use, I'll declutter it in the future. The Collection Soft Glow blusher in the shade Bashful. This has just come out of my project pan, and honestly, this isn't my favourite blush. It's a bit peachy, it's got a bit of a sheen to it. It is quite nice, but it comes out quite sheer on the face. I'm not going to get rid of it because I don't hate it enough to get rid of it, but it's definitely not my favourite blush. Primark PS Blush High Pigment blusher in the shade In the Pink. I think I'm going to get rid of this. I've not used it since the video, and I don't go for pink blushes often enough, and if I do, I've got other pinks that I can pick. I think I might pick up another one of these in a different shade because I thought this was the only shade they did, but they actually have quite a few, and I'm going to do another testing Primark video at some point, so yeah, this can go. This is the Beauty Bay powder blush in the shade Coral. This is a bit more red toned. It's kind of similar to that Colourpop blush and kind of this one here. I'm going to keep this because I do enjoy it and I want to get this in some more shades. I don't reach for it that often. I probably wear coral toned blushes a handful of times a year, but it's good to have an option when I want it, and I'm getting rid of this red tone, so keeping a couple of red tones would be good. The I Heart Revolution Heartbreakers blush in the shade Brave. I quite like this. The thing I don't like about it is the packaging. It's a very, very pale pink. You can barely even see it on my skin tone, but I don't think I have a pink like it. I don't think I have anything this pale. So yeah, I do really like this blush, and for a while I used to take this blush with me whenever I went like home or anything like that. The packaging is just so bulky. It's the only thing that really bothers me, but it doesn't bother me enough to get rid of it. I'm quite happy to keep hold of this for now. The Lottie London Ombre Blush in the shade Haze. I actually have another one of these, and I did have the full-size version of this, but I hadn't opened it, and I received this in a glossy box. So I thought I'll keep the small one, and I put the bigger one into a giveaway. That's a really nice shade, actually, kind of like a peachy pink. I quite like that. The Wonder Beauty Trip for Two Blush and Bronzer Duo. I have the shade Bellini, which is a blush, and then Costa Ray is a bronzer. I've not reached for this since I tested it, but they do look quite nice. Even the bronzer looks quite nice. This came in the Glossy Box Advent Calendar. I thought I was going to get rid of this one, but I think I'm actually going to keep it because they do look quite nice. And finally, the Revolution Pro Eternal Rose Pink Lust. This has a blush side and a highlighter side. The highlights are way too dark for me, but I'll just show you them. There we go. They do look really nice. I'll just put these all the way up here, I guess. They do look like really nice highlights. They're just way too dark for me. But then the blush side, you've got a matte blush, and then you've got a blush topper shade, and then you can mix the two together as well. So I'll put these here. I'm sorry, my arm is peeling from sunburn. Sorry, there's not a lot I can do. But those are those shades there. I actually really, really enjoy this. I've reached for it a few times, both on camera and in my personal life. So I'm definitely going to keep hold of this as well. So I'm getting rid of these three. I started with 22. I'm getting rid of 3. That leaves me with 19, which is kind of good. I wanted to go below 20, really. So I'm all right with how many I have. Yeah, these will go. These will be packed away, apart from the 2 that I'm keeping out. That's not bad, I don't think. Let's move on and do bronzers. And we are on to bronzers. I have again cleaned my arm because I want to swatch these and try and get an idea of what shades I have. But first of all, let's start with the one that's going into my project pan, and that is the Wet n Wild Colour Icon bronzer in the shade Ticket to Brazil. So this one will definitely get a bit more use in the coming months. I'm just going to pop that one there. Definitely has a little bit of a glow to it. It's a very light shade. Even for my skin tone, it's very pale. But that works quite nicely for me. I found with bronzers, I like a yellow tone bronzer. This is definitely yellow toned. So that's a really good option for me. One more bronzer that I get to keep out. I'm actually going to pick the Doll Beauty Give Me Sun in the shade Light. I love this bronzer so much. This is my favourite at the moment. It's the perfect shade for me. And that almost has like a peachy tone to it, a bit more brown than the Wet n Wild one, and it's completely matte. So if I want a matte option, this will be the one. And now for the rest. Where to start? We'll do the e.l.f. Putty bronzer because this is my only cream bronzer that I have. This is in the shade Tan Lines. This is the shade Tan Lines. I really enjoy this. I am going to keep it. I'm just going to put this off to the side. You can kind of see it's got a bit more of a yellowy tone, a bit more bronzy. That's sort of my ideal sort of shade. So yeah, definitely going to keep this. The Primark PS Pro Sheer Glow and Finishing Powder in 312 Medium. This has just come out on my project pan. I really like this bronzer. Oh, it has shimmer in it. I didn't realise. I've never noticed that it had shimmer in it. But as you can see, that's very similar to the Putty bronzer. Maybe a touch darker and maybe a touch more orange. But this shade works really well for me. I'm kind of shocked that it had shimmer in it. But it works really nicely. I absolutely love it. The XX Revolution bronzer, I guess, in Demo. This isn't my favourite bronzer. It's not terrible. I think it's a touch too dark. I mean, it doesn't look too dark. It's definitely darker than the other shades on my arm, but it doesn't look too bad. I don't think this is worth the money. I think there are better bronzers out there, for sure. But looking at it, it is kind of still in that range. They kind of look very similar on camera. They don't look as similar in person. Very similar to that Putty bronzer shade. So I think I'm going to keep hold of this. Colourpop Pressed Powder Blush. You can see it says blush in the shade Jet Set. Who is that a blush for? It's got a lot of shimmer in it. I can already see the shimmer in this one. Oh, a bit powdery as well. Oh, that's basically just a shimmery version of that Demo shade from XX Revolution, really. Again, for somebody who's not particularly a shimmery bronzer kind of person, most of them have had shimmer in so far. I'm going to keep this. I actually quite like it. The Collection Bronze and Glow Matte in the shade 1 Terracotta. This one might have to go. It's just a bit too orange for me. I hope you can see that actually on camera it looks very similar to that Tan Line shade, but they're not in real life. But yeah, this one's going to go. I'm not a fan of it. It's bronze and glow. It's got a bit of a sheen. It doesn't have any shimmer in it. But yeah, this just isn't something I reach for. Beauty Bay Powder Bronzer in the shade Donut. This isn't their palest shade, and I should have just got their palest shade. It's a bit more cool toned, a bit more of a contoury shade for me, but it's also a bit too dark for me. Let's get Demo back out. Let's put these on similar fingers. That one's the Beauty Bay one, that one's the Revolution one. That's Revolution, that's Beauty Bay. Demo's darker, so I'm going to get rid of Demo actually. I'll get rid of that one. I'll keep the Beauty Bay one. This is the Rimmel Natural Bronzer in the shade Sunlight. I don't think I've used this since the video, but from what I remember, I quite liked it. Yeah, it looks very similar to the other shades that I like down the row, so I'm going to keep hold of this one. This is the Revolution Pro Sculpting Bronzer in Bar here. I know that Soph from Soph Does Life loves this, and honestly, so do I. It's a really good shade. It's very similar to this one, but it's a bit Got a bit more of a shimmer to it. It's just better for me because I'm pretty sure that one's the demo one that I've just put in the decluttered pile. But I really do enjoy this one, so I'm going to keep this one. The MUA Bronzed Matte Bronzing Powder in the shade Solar 110. I think this is a bit more cool toned. I can't open it. Yeah. There we go. It's a bit more cool toned than my other ones, which is good to have as an option. It's not something I reach for all the time, but it is good to have a cool toned option if I want it. So I'm going to keep hold of this. The Rude Cosmetics Go for Bronze bronzer in the shade I Gave It My All. I quite enjoyed this when I tested it. It feels very soft. It's also a touch cool toned, but it's got a bit more of a yellow to it, so it works a bit better for my skin tone personally. I'm definitely going to keep hold of this. I actually really enjoyed it, and it looks like a really good cool toned option for me. The Revolution Ultra Sculpt and Contour Kit in CO1 Ultra Fair. This is so old and so beaten up. This was in my project pan for the first quarter of the year. It does have a highlight and a blush. I never ever use the highlight. There's the bronzer next to the other ones. There's the highlighter, there's the blush. It's a very shimmery blush. I think it's meant to be a dupe for NARS Orgasm. I sometimes use it as a blush topper. I never use the highlighter, but I do really love the bronzer. I have had one of these before and I completely used up the bronzer. So I'm going to keep hold of this. This is the Primark Bronze Dreamer in the shade Enlighten. I think this is too dark for me. Let's put it next to the others. Yes, that's way too dark for me. That's a terrible shade for me. That's definitely going to be decluttered. You can just see how much darker it is. And then finally, we have the e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer in the shade Forever Sunkissed. Again, I think I've reached for this once or twice since my testing e.l.f. video, and I think I quite like it. Yeah, it's a very, very light bronzer. It's kind of very similar to these shades around here. I really like it. I'm going to keep hold of it. But there we go. I've, again, decluttered 3. And I think I started with 15. So I'm now down to 12. And that's pretty good going, I think. Let's move on to highlighters. Time for highlight. I'm starting with 25 products here, which is the biggest section I've done so far. I'm going to try and swatch all of them. There are quite a few palettes in here, as you can see. So there's more than 25 shades. I'm going to try and swatch them so that I have like pink highlights together, gold highlights together, colourful highlights together. Hopefully that'll help. Right, now I've got to figure out what is going into my project pan. Go for a highlight in the shade Pillow Talk is the one going into my project pan, which is a pink toned highlight. I'm going to put my pink tones on the back of my hand. Don't know how you see that. It's very reflective. It's very icy pink tone. But I really like it, and it's an expensive highlight that I don't use often enough, and that's why I've put it in my project pan. Now I want something else in case I fancy using something else. I think I'm going to go for my Soap highlight. This was in my project pan for the start of the year. I love this palette. I've hit pan on this peach shade. So if I just swatch the ones that I use the most, probably these 4. Gold shades along my wrist, pink shades on the back of my hand. I love that pink shade. It's a lot more pink than the Ofra one. You can kind of see the difference. And then that's more of a peachy one, but it can go here as well. And then the gold can go there. Yeah, I love this palette. It's my all-time favourite. I love to mix the shades. I mix the gold with either the peach or the white. I love the pink. Now for everything else, once again. We'll start with liquid highlight because this is the only liquid highlight I have. This is the Wet n Wild Hello Halo liquid highlighter in the shade Halo Gorgeous, I think it's called. This is a pink toned highlight. It's a bit dark, but I find that if I were to put the Ofra one on top, they'd sort of level each other out. So I do quite like this. I don't reach for it loads because, like I said, I'm not a massive liquid product sort of person, but it's that one there just on my knuckles. You can see it's a bit darker than the other two, but it works really nicely. I just forget to reach for it, but I'll keep hold of it for now. The Soph Face Duo. So this is essentially the white and the peach shade from her other palette, and I have tested this in a video but I said that I wasn't going to reach for this until I've completely like almost used up these two shades in her palette, so I haven't used it loads, but I'm going to keep hold of it. The Rude Cosmetics Baked Highlighter in the shade All Eyes on Me. This was in a testing video recently. This is a very glittery highlight. It feels nice and it looks nice, but it is just very, very glittery, as you can kind of see. This isn't something I reach for all the time. It's not an everyday sort of thing for me, but I am going to keep hold of it for when I want something a bit more like this. I can reach for this one. Okay, this one from Rimmel. This is the highlight in the shade 01 Stardust. The fact it's 01 indicates to me that this is the lightest shade they do, but it is too dark for me. So I'm going to declutter this. As you can see, it's just so much darker than the other shades on my arm. It gives me a cast. It doesn't work for me at all. It looks really light there, but if I just sort of tilt it out of the light, you can see just how dark it actually is. So this is going to go. The Jeffree Star Cosmetics Skin Frost in Nefri. My friend decluttered this from her collection and I took it. I really like this. I don't use Jeffree Star products on my channel much, because I don't want to support him, but I use this a fair amount in my everyday life. It's kind of a lilac lavender sort of highlight, and I don't have anything like it, so I am going to keep hold of it. This is the Revolution Pro Luster highlight in the shade White Rose. This is stunning. Look how gorgeous that is. It's a flower. This is sort of a pinky highlight, but it's that was way too much. This is going to be a mess. It's a bit peachy as well. Again, quite an icy pink shade, kind of similar to the Ofra one, maybe a bit more peachy than the Ofra one, but I really do like this. I think it looks gorgeous as well. I'm going to keep hold of this. Revolution Pro do a lot of really good products. That was a very good video for me. I enjoyed a lot of the products I tested. The Beauty Bay Powder Highlight in the shade Flash. This is the palest shade they do, and it is very pale, and I do like it, but it's very, very icy. I kind of wish they had something with a bit more gold to it, but they don't. I feel like their golden tones are a bit too dark for me, but this is a really nice shade. I'm going to keep hold of it because I do enjoy it. It's just very, very icy. This is the I Heart Revolution Bronze and Glow. As you can see, it does have a bronzer in it. I'll swatch the bronzer while I'm here. I'll just put it on my hand. It's a nice enough bronzer. I never reach for it. I prefer the highlight. It's very pretty. It's kind of a unique shade. It's like a peachy gold in my opinion. I really like it. I just need to reach for it a bit more. This is the MUA Undress Your Skin highlighter. These have different names now. This is very old. This has just come out of my project pan. As you can see, there's quite a bit of pan there, because my friend owned this for quite a while before she decluttered it and gave it to me. I really like this highlight. I did say in my recent update to my project pan that this highlight does a really good job of being really pale and works for pale skin, but still looks golden. When I put this into my project pan, I basically said I was doing it because this is really old. The packaging's beat up. It's an absolute mess. The packaging's actually broken, as you can see. And I put it in my project pan to see whether or not I wanted to just repurchase a new one of these, because these are only £3, I think. So what I'm going to do is declutter this one and buy a new one, and that'll stay in my project pan. Because as much as I could probably use all this up, this is so old. I've had this for at least 5 years, and my friend had it before that, so I think it's just time to throw this away. This is from Primark. It is the Rose Luxe Highlighter Palette. Has 4 shades. These two are too dark for me, but these two work really nicely. These are kind of pinky tones thing on the back of my hand. That's kind of just a white, but that's a really nice pink. It's kind of similar to this one here, which I think was the Revolution Pro one. I really do like these shades. These two are too dark, but I'll swatch them anyway. The pink I sometimes use on my inner corner. I'll put that one up here. Very similar to that Wet n Wild shade. And then the gold is just, again, too dark, too yellow. But I do quite like this. I just need to reach for it a bit more, as always. On the flip side of that, this is another Primark highlight. This is the Diamond Bomb. It's way too icy. I just mix all the shades together. It's white. It is just straight up white. I'm just going to pop that there. That is straight up white. It doesn't work for me. I'm going to declutter this. Wet n Wild Hello Halo blush lighter in the shade Highlight Bling. This is sort of a highlight and a blush topper. Have I just shoved my nail in it? A little bit. But I really quite like these. These again can go on the pink section. That's a very icy pink, but it does still have a tint of pink, and it's kind of similar to this one up here, which I think was the Ofra one. And then that's the blush topper, which is way too dark for me to use as a highlight. It is definitely a blush topper, but I do quite like using it as a blush topper. I've used it a few times in my private life. I haven't used it in any videos because, again, the Testing Wet n Wild video has only recently gone up, so I haven't used it in any more videos since then. But this is really nice. I really quite like it, and super inexpensive. Collection. Gorgeous Glow highlight in the shade Opal. This is not a highlight. It has no shimmer to it. I hate this. It's not a real highlight. I'm sorry, Collection. I love the brand. This is not a good highlighter. It's not even a highlighter. I tried using it as like a finishing powder and it worked quite well, but I would always forget to do that, so I'm just going to declutter this. This is the MUA Light Luster Highlight Kit in Golden Kiss. Has 3 highlights. The bottom one is way too dark for me, but I'll swatch it anyway. Yep, way too dark. In fact, that's very similar to the Rimmel one that I decluttered, which just shows how dark the Rimmel one is. Then you've got this pink one and this gold one. We'll chuck the gold one here. I'm running out of space. Hopefully you can see that. It's a nice gold, and so is the pink. Again, kind of similar to this one here. I'm going to keep hold of this. This is the Moonchild Glow Kit. Again, this belonged to a friend. She decluttered it and gave it to me very recently. I love colourful highlights. Blue Ice is a blue highlight. Star is a sort of silvery highlight. Purple Horse is a purpley blue highlight. Look how stunning it is. I know this won't be for everyone, but it is for me. Blue Moon is a sort of silvery blue. I'll put these on my colourful section. And then we have Pink Heart and Lucky Clover. I'll put Lucky Clover there, and I'll put Pink Heart up here. I like Pink Heart because it's kind of a white with a pink reflect instead of just being a pink highlight. And then the colourful highlights. I know so many people aren't into colourful highlights anymore, but I still love them. I think they are so fun. We have the Doll Beauty Doll Light in the shade Like a Diamond. This is the lightest shade they do, I think. It's quite nice. It might be on the edge of too dark for me. Actually, it looks fine on my arm, to be fair. It's just that one there. Just let me contort myself so you can see it. I really like this. It's a really, really nice highlight. I really enjoy it. It's not going anywhere. This is the Ofra highlight in Glazed Donut. I think I've had this one the longest. I quite like it. Ofra highlights are really good. I know Ofra's been in a lot of hot water recently, and I haven't purchased anything from them. It's just this one here. I haven't purchased anything from them, but I still want to use the ones I have, so I'm going to keep hold of this. This is the Ofra highlight in Space Baby. I dropped it ages ago and it's smashed. It's a blue highlight, so I absolutely love it. But it did smash. Sorry, you can see all of my peeling sunburn. I really like this, but I think I should just let it go because I have other blue highlights now. I don't really need it in my collection. In fact, it looks very similar to like these two here from the Anastasia palette. It cost me so much money. I honestly cried when I dropped it and it broke, but I think I'm gonna have to let it go. We have the XX Revolution, I don't know, it's called Reactive. It's a pink toned. It's a baked highlight, so it's a little bit more glittery, but I really like it. Again, it's very similar to the other pink tones on my hand. But hopefully you can see all the pink tones on my hand. There's a lot of variation in there. I'm obviously going to keep this. I love pink highlight. This is the Beauty Crop, I think it's called the Staycation highlight in the shade Capri. This is a blue, and this is why I think it's okay for me to get rid of the Ofra one, because that's a very intense blue. I think it replaces the Ofra one quite nicely. I'm not a fan of the packaging. It's very childish, but it's a good enough highlight. The e.l.f. highlight. This is the Baked highlighter in Moonlit Pearls or Moonlight Pearls, I'm not sure. Again, this came free when I bought stuff in Superdrug. Beautiful shade. I actually really like it. I don't think I've reached for it much since the video. It's just that one there. I think I'm sat in the way of the sun, which doesn't help. But yeah, gonna keep hold of this, really like it. And finally, my Colourpop Super Shock Cheek in the shade Over the Moon. I love this. This is currently my favourite highlighter. It's not something I can wear all the time because it's like pink and purple and blue and stunning. I'm going to put it on my hand so you can really see it. I'm going to put loads of it on. It's stunning. By far my favourite highlight. I wish I could wear it more often. It is beautiful. This isn't going anywhere. So there we go. I started with 25 and I've decluttered 5. So I'm down to 20. I'm pretty okay with that. I'm going to go now. These will go into my declutter pile. These will be packed away. I'll let Effie do the outro, but I'm pretty happy with this. I'll see you in the next video where I think we'll be decluttering miscellaneous products, but I'll let you go. I hope you're not too mad at me for not getting rid of loads, but I'm still trying to grow my collection, and if it makes you feel any better, I've now got to move all of this stuff to a new house, which is going to be loads of fun, as I'm sure you can imagine. I'll let you go. I hope you have a great day and an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.